You two are just leeches. My parents shouted all while they were living in my house, eating my food, and spending my money. So I'm Alyssa, 29. And for 3 straight years, I paid every bill in a 4-bedroom house that had my name on the deed, while my own parents called me a selfish leech to my face. I cooked, cleaned, worked 70-hour weeks, and watched them blow my credit cards on flat-screen TVs and casino trips. Then one night they crossed a line I didn't know existed, and I did something that ripped our family in half. What happened next involved police, missing money, a secret recording, and the most satisfying revenge I never planned. Keep watching, because you won't believe how far they went to punish me for finally saying no. If you've ever been used by the people who were supposed to protect you, this one's for you. It started when I was 26. I'd just closed the biggest deal of my life at the marketing agency and bought my dream house. 4 bedrooms, quiet street, white picket fence vibes. My parents had been spiraling for years. Dad got laid off in 2020 and decided retirement sounded better than looking for another job at 62. Mom's fibromyalgia meant she couldn't work full-time, and their savings were gone. They were 2 months from eviction when Mom called crying. "We're going to be homeless, Lissa." I'm the only one of 3 kids who made it. Of course I said, "Move in with me. Just until you're back on your feet." Famous last words. I thought 6 months, maybe a year. 3 years later, they had turned my house into their personal resort, and I was the unpaid staff. A normal day looked like this. I'd wake up at 5:45 to Dad blasting the TV at full volume, some shouting pundit shaking his fist about gas prices. Mom would already be in my kitchen using every single pan to make her famous 7-cheese omelets that nobody asked for. Then leave the mess. I'd tiptoe around, make coffee, and head to the office. I'd come home at 7 p.m. to Amazon boxers stacked to the ceiling, QVC bags, takeout containers everywhere, Dad on the couch, Mom on her iPad that I paid for, and my little brother Caleb, 14 at the time, doing homework at the dining table, looking like he hadn't smiled in weeks. They never paid a single utility. Groceries ran $1,000 a month because Dad needed ribeyes and Mom deserved her wine subscription. My emergency fund drained on their dental work, their car repairs, their little weekend getaways to the casino 3 hours away. I stopped buying myself clothes. I stopped dating. I stopped sleeping, and the guilt trips never ended. Every time I gently asked about job applications, Mom would clutch her chest and say, "You want your sick mother out on the street?" Dad would grunt, "After everything we did for you. This is the thanks we get." Meanwhile, I was the one who drove Caleb to school every morning because they weren't morning people. Caleb was the only reason I didn't lose my mind. Sweet, quiet, strata kid who apologized for existing. He'd sneak into the kitchen after they went to bed and help me load the dishwasher, whispering, "I'm getting a job the day I turn 16. Lisa, I swear I'll pay you back." Then came the night that changed everything. I'd been at the office until 10 p.m. preparing a pitch that could make me senior director. I walked in exhausted, dreaming of my bed. Instead, I found my parents, my Aunt Linda and Uncle Ron drunk in my living room. Pizza boxes everywhere. Dad was red-faced waving a beer, and the second he saw me, he exploded. "Look who finally decided to come home. Miss Big Shot thinks she's too good for us now. You and that brother of yours are nothing but leeches. Living here rent-free, eating my food, using my electricity, driving my cars." I just stood there holding my laptop bag in the house I paid every cent for while my own father screamed that I was a parasite. Aunt Linda tried to shush him, but Mom jumped in, slurring, "She's always been ungrateful. We sacrificed everything for her." Something inside me snapped like a rubber band that had been pulled for 3 years. I didn't yell. I just looked at Caleb, who was frozen on the stairs, and said, 60 days. You have 60 days to find somewhere else to live." Then I walked upstairs, locked my bedroom door, and cried until I fell asleep. The next morning, I handed them a formal 60-day eviction notice. Legal, signed, dated. Mom burst into tears. Dad threatened to sue me for elder abuse and breach of verbal contract. I didn't flinch. That's when the war started. Week 1, silent treatment. They cooked only for themselves, hid the TV remotes, turned the thermostat to 82 so I'd sweat. Mom posted vague Facebook sob stories about children who abandoned their parents. Week 2, sabotage. My work blouses went missing from the dryer. Dad accidentally spilled wine on my MacBook. I started keeping everything in my room with a lock. Week 3, the first nuclear bomb. I came home to find police in my driveway. Mom was on the porch sobbing to 2 officers. "She's been stealing our Social Security money. We had $38,000 cash in our safe, and it's gone." My stomach dropped. The officers asked to see the safe in the guest room. Empty. Mom pointed at me hysterically. She has the combination. I stayed calm and said, check the Ring camera I installed last month. Clear 4K footage. Mom at 3:12 a.m. opening the safe. Stuffing cash into her purse. Dad standing guard. She'd staged the whole thing. The officers turned to her. Ma'am, filing a false police report is a crime. Mom started screaming that I doctored the video. Dad tried to grab the officer's arm. They both got warnings, and I got a restraining order filed that same day. You'd think that would be the end. It wasn single quotes. 2 weeks later, Mom's health suddenly took a turn. She collapsed in the kitchen, ambulance, hospital, the whole show. Doctors ran tests and found nothing. She was discharged 48 hours later with a bill for $27,000 that somehow ended up in my name because she forged my signature as guarantor years ago. I spent a week on the phone with insurance and the hospital, crying in my car at lunch again. Caleb came to me that night with tears in his eyes and handed me his phone. He'd been secretly recording conversations for months, hours of audio. Mom laughing about how she trains me to feel guilty. Dad bragging they'd never have to work again because Alyssa's too soft to kick us out. Mom planning to fake a heart attack if I ever got serious about eviction. I sat on the floor listening and felt every ounce of guilt disappear. I made copies of everything and sent it to my lawyer. The final 20 days were pure chaos. They tried every trick. Mom stopped eating, lost 15 pounds, told relatives I was starving her. Dad called my boss pretending to be a client and left a screaming voicemail about what a horrible person I was. My company's HR had to get involved. Then the second nuclear bomb dropped. 5 days before moving day, $42,000. Vanished from my personal checking account, gone. Transferred to an account I didn't recognize. I freaked out, called the bank, called the police. Turns out my parents had somehow gotten my debit card info probably when I was asleep and opened an account in my name with themselves as co-signers. They'd been siphoning money for months. The bank froze everything, but recovery would take weeks. I was broke, shaking, and had 5 days to get them out. Caleb and I changed every lock while they were at bingo. We hired an off-duty cop to stand guard on moving day. When the U-Haul pulled up, Mom tried to chain herself to the banister, screaming, "You're killing your mother." Dad tried to fight the cop. Neighbors filmed the whole thing on their phones. They left with nothing but what fit in the truck. My Aunt Linda took pity and let them stay in her basement for $900 a month's rent they didn't have. The second the door closed, Caleb and I sat on the kitchen floor and cried. Then we ordered pizza, turned the music up loud, and danced in our underwear in the living room for the first time in 3 years. The fallout was brutal but beautiful. Mom's health magically improved once the free ride ended. Dad got a job delivering auto parts at 68. They burned every bridge with relatives. Last I heard, they're in a rundown senior apartment eating ramen. And Mom still tells anyone who will listen that I'm the devil. Caleb moved into the spare room permanently. We turned the master into my home office. He got a part-time job, maintained a 4.0, and just got a full-ride scholarship to State University. We cook dinner together, watch stupid reality TV, leave dishes in the sink because we can. My house smells like lemon candles and freedom. And me, that pitch I was working on the night they called me a leech. It didn't just land the promotion. It made me the youngest VP in company history. 6-figure bonus. I paid cash for a new car, booked a solo trip to Italy, and started a savings account with my name only. Sometimes Mom calls from a blocked phone crying, "We're going to be evicted again." I let it go to voicemail. Dad once showed up drunk at 2 a.m. pounding on the door. Caleb called the police himself. I still have nightmares sometimes that I open the door, and they're standing there with suitcases. Then I wake up in my quiet, clean house, make coffee in my own kitchen. And remember, I won. If you've ever had to choose yourself over toxic parents, drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and I promise you're stronger than you think. Smash that like button if you're proud of me for finally locking the door. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because next video is the full story of what happened when they tried to crash my company's holiday gala with a fake medical emergency. Yeah, you're not going to want to miss that one.